Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 5th live session of Research Support Webinar Series 2022. I can see that some of the people are still joining in, but I'm not gonna waste time. I think it's better to start with the session right away. Okay, like I said, welcome, and my name is Vinolia, and I'm the Marketing and Event Coordinator for ISCA. Before we continue, I would like to request for our speaker to unmute themselves and also to put their camera on and their slides on as well. Thank you so much, Prof. Emmanuel. Like I said, we are beginning with the session. I'm Vinolia, I'm the Marketing and Event Coordinator for ISCA. So as we are going to start, I'm going to take you through some housekeeping rules. As you all know that you are all requested to mute yourselves except for our speaker to avoid any background noise. And secondly, if you do have a question that you'd like to ask during the presentation, I would ask for you to please write it in the chat box and then we'll take it over after the presentation. And for those who have questions as well during the session, but they like to present their own questions to the speaker directly, they will be given the opportunity only after the presentation. They can do so by raising their hands, and then we will notice them and give them the opportunity to ask anything they would like to ask. Today we have our guest speaker, who is Prof. Emmanuel Awuor, who is an associate professor in the School of Management and Leadership at the Management University of Africa. He is the current Vice President in charge of Research and Education at the African Institute for Supply Chain Research and a senior partner at Deloitte Consultant and a research and consultancy firm based in Nairobi, Kenya. Prof. Awuor has previously served as the Academic Dean of Faculty from 2013 until 2015, acting Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Academic Research and Extension, DVC-ARE, from 2015 to 2016 at the Management University of Africa. He holds a BSc degree, postgraduate diploma in education, which is PGDE, MBA, doctorate in business leadership, as well as postdoc fellowship from Wellcome Trust, UK. He has published widely in peer-reviewed journals, as well as making presentations at various local, regional, and international conferences. He has in the past undertaken tasks for GIZ, Wellcome Trust, UK, and UNDP, CAPYEI, Youth Empowerment Institute, Mastercard Foundation, among others. Before we welcome Prof. Emmanuel Awuor, I would request for us to please mute ourselves once again so that we respect the speaker as well as other audience who are in the session as well. Prof. Emmanuel, please, you can take over with it, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vinolia, for the introduction. And thank participants and colleagues for finding time to join us at ISCA this afternoon. The Research Webinar Series is one of the platforms that ISCA has created for master's and doctoral candidates, as well as researchers in various levels. And so this is the 5th of a series of these presentations that began somewhere in February. And so I'm urging you just to keep in touch with ISCA's calendar so that you are not left out throughout this series until November or somewhere in December. So they are arranged in such a way that one builds onto the other, because after this, then there'll be a series on literature review and data analysis and publication all the way until dissemination. So it's a great forum that ISCA has created for all of us, not only in supply chain management, but all researchers in general. Again, maybe I also want to take the opportunity for those who are not familiar with ISCA to get familiarized that ISCA offers you a platform that you can use for collaborations or partnerships to be able to do research in a wide area. We are not just limited to procurement, logistics, and supply chain management, but we look beyond that. So indeed, make sure you visit our website and just see what is there that you can learn from. There are this series of lectures that have already been uploaded there, I think from 2020 all the way. They're research articles. So I think as an M or master's or doctoral students, that site would enrich your studies very much. So for this afternoon, my presentation is on advanced search strategies that you can use as a prelude to your literature review. And the issues that I'm going to tackle, let me just put it in a presentation mode. Right, so I hope it's visible. I'm going to look at important online secondary databases, then look at sources of online databases, and particularly try to look at trustworthiness of the source, because I think that's very key for anybody trying to look for data, and a review of some searching techniques, then tips for finding good sources of sources for your research paper, and what makes a source relevant, how to construct an effective search strategy, types of information sources, and then maybe just a bit on the Boolean searching. So that, in a nutshell, is the content of my presentation this afternoon. So just like Vinolia said, I'll make my presentation, and then we shall have an opportunity for engagement after this. Alternatively, you can throw your comment or your question on the chat box, and we'll have a chance to look at it after the presentation. So generally, the online secondary databases is quite wide. So what I've listed here is just a few that scholars at master or doctoral levels or other researchers generally use often. For example, the InfoTrack, EBSCO, Lexis, and Nexis. Google Scholar is very popular. JSTOR, Scopus, Web Science, Science Direct, and university repositories. Ideally, every university has a repository for all their research work, the dissertations, the theses, the research project. So it also forms a very important and unique form of secondary database. So ideally, if you are looking for research that has been done before in supply chain management, just as an example, because that's my area, or in leadership, then if you went to our repository right now, I'm sure you'll get past studies that have been done in that area. And that can be a stepping ground for you to collect further information and move ahead with your research. So I guess some of these things, it's important that we know them and we remind ourselves. Now, other sources of online secondary database is also not limited to this, but a lot of information you could find them from the World Bank repositories or online libraries. You know, there are so many institutions which have online libraries, and I guess that forms a very unique source of secondary data. Institutions like African Development Bank have a wide database that covers economics, finance, and even supply chain issues across the continent. European Development Bank, you can get a lot of information from the IMF data sources, the UNESCO data sources. Those interested in health supply chain management, you can get a lot of sources from the World Health Organization. So again, we are not limited to this, but this could be an eye-opener that you really don't have to struggle. There are so many sources out there where you can get your information. But the importance now is you to think about the trustworthiness of your source. Because ideally, if you'll be making a citation, then you don't want somebody to water down your statement of the problem or your research gap by saying that the source is not trustworthy. So I guess it's important that you reflect and you look at what exactly makes a source trustworthy. You know, is it valid? Is it authentic? You know, and I think that should be the number one question that you ask yourself as a scholar about the authenticity of your source. You know, we have these days a lot of predatory journals invading, and online journals that basically are not peer reviewed, and sometimes in scholarly circles, then they are not considered authentic. So I guess you really must be careful where you're publishing your work, or where you're getting your citations from, or where you're getting your sources from, because authenticity and validity of your source usually is the number one priority that you're looking for. Then credibility, you know, is it credible? Is it from an organization that is credible, you know? Sometimes in journal articles, we look at the impact factor, we look at who has done the peer review, you know? Dependability, is it a source that you think is reliable? Is it a source that is objective, you know? Is it a source that can be replicated elsewhere? So I guess for you to really talk about the credibility of your data source, for you to talk about the credibility of the paper that you're writing, or the research that you're writing, or your dissertation, then the sources of your data, of your information, really have got to be authentic. I think that there are not two ways about it for that matter. Now, so I think one area here which we have all alluded to is the fact that we really must find a way of identifying and dissociating from predatory journals, or from publications that do not give credibility in terms of peer review and such matters when we are looking for sources of information or data. Now, just a bit on the search techniques, you know. So ideally, it's important that you choose your search terms. So what are the terms? What exactly do you want to zero in on, right? Or then you look for the keywords. What are your so you search with the keywords. So you pick certain keywords. Maybe I'm interested in looking at procurement or supply chain or logistics. So I pick certain keywords that then I use for searching. Or I use particular phrases, an exact phrase for my search. And that then means that I'm looking for almost a direct source. Or sometimes you can use truncated or wildcard searches. And that basically is, I think, literally using synonyms, you know. For example, if I'm looking at, maybe I want to look for articles that they say factors that affect blah, blah, blah. So maybe I could look for determinants, you know. I'll use a synonym like determinants to improve my search. We can also search with subject headings, you know. So you just pick the subject heading and you use that for your searching. And I've also, towards the end of my presentation, talked a bit about Boolean logic. So basically, Boolean logic helps us to make use of, to either broaden or narrow our search. So you use not, or, and and. For example, the example I've just given, if I'm searching for procurement and supply chain management, you know, procurement and supply chain management, then I'll be able to get information sources on procurement, information sources on supply chain management, and both procurement and supply chain management. So when we use and or, we are widening our search. But when you use not, then we are limiting, we are narrowing our search. So if I say procurement, not supply chain management, so that basically means I'll be limiting myself to search on procurement. I think I'll touch a bit about the Boolean logic as we move on with our presentation. So again, what you can just see is that it offers you an opportunity to widen your search or narrow your search depending on exactly what you want. And we can also use citations, right? Maybe I'm interested in a study that Professor Ambe did in 2017. So I could just maybe look at for Ambe 2017 and find out what is it that I'm getting that Prof. Ambe did in 2017. So ideally, these are some of the techniques that both our M&D students and even our seasonal researchers use when they're trying to search for data sources. Now, so what are some of the tips of finding good sources for research paper? So I think the first thing is that you need to identify your research topic, you know. So what exactly is the topic of your interest? Then you keep the purpose of the work in mind. What are you writing this paper for? What is its purpose, you know? What do you intend to achieve with it? What kind of audience are you interested in passing this information? Then create a list of keywords that you want to use. Then you make notes. Sometimes consider different types of information as you do your search. Then ultimately you should be able to analyze and organize your collected data. So I think the key thing here is that we're narrowing down. You have from a certain topic, then you can pick it down to certain keywords, then you can pick it down to certain key phrases, then you move along and you're able to either widen or narrow the scope of your search. And that basically then would help you as you move forward in your literature review or in your the paper that you are writing as it is. So exactly what is relevant? What exactly is relevant? Remember, I've alluded to the fact here that of importance is that we are interested in establishing the relevance of our source. And I think that's key, and we should, authenticity and relevance and credibility are things that I think should be hammering throughout this presentation. So the source must lack bias and it must be authoritative. I think that's very important. And sometimes you've seen, if you present a certain work, somebody looks at your references and citations and just trying to find out have you looked at the works of some of the so-called gurus or personalities considered to have done a lot of work in these areas? You know, that speaks about authoritativeness, and that adds credibility to your work, because it means you have looked wider, and you have not just you have tried also to zero in on the key contributors, the authoritative figures in that particular area of study. So again, the issue of bias, I think, is very important, and that is why often, as I said earlier, we look at issues of peer review. You know, has it gone through the right process of a peer review, and possibly sometimes how is it done? I mean, so some of those things, and sometimes we even maybe want to look at what is the impact factor of that journal, so that speaks to its authoritativeness. The source must also be credible. So you're asking yourself, is it verifiable? You know, and that's very important. You know, that is why often we discourage early career researchers from citations from encyclopedia or from popular newspapers, you know, because a lot of this information has not gone through peer review. And often it's somebody thinking about something and I put it there in the press. It's an opinion, so to speak. So sometimes it lacks both credibility and verifiability. And I think that's something that we need to speak to when you are looking for information sources. Now, the accuracy is also important. And of course, you really want to find out how accurate is the source. Yeah. So more than just making sure the information is not false, it must be completely true. You know, you may not have a lot of leeway in knowing the absolute truth. But again, if you followed from the basics of looking at credibility, authenticity, lack of bias, reliability of your source, then chances are very high that you'll end up with a source that is accurate, you know. And basically, the reason why this is important is that at the end of the day, you don't want to end up with a paper or a dissertation whose research gaps are questionable, whose credibility is questionable. And so that is why this is very critical. The way you identify that the source is authentic, the source is credible, the source is accurate, I think is very important. And all of us as researchers should think of that. So you don't want somebody to put you to task and start saying that the source you picked is not accurate. I mean, the information is false, you know. Sometimes that then waters down a lot of other work that you've done. So I think on that basis, then it becomes important just to see that and try to, as it were, put stopgap measures long before anything happens. Now, these are some, ideally, I was looking at them as 6 questions you may ask yourself when determining if a source is relevant, right? So you could just, one of the things you'll ask yourself is, so what is it about? What is it about? What is it about? What is this information about? What is your subject area of focus? Are you looking for recent information? Is it you're looking for an old or new information, something recent? Is it a book or an article that you're writing? You know, is it scholarly? And I think that's is a very important question also, because again, if it's scholarly, then all the things we'll be talking about here, really, you must think about it. Unless, as I say, which is, I'm sure is not the audience that I'm addressing here. Maybe you are a blogger, so that's not scholarly. Or you're writing for maybe one of these tabloids or some of these newspapers, that may not be very scholarly. But of course, if you're writing your dissertation, you're writing your thesis, you're writing a journal article, then you really must be ask yourself such question. And then again, what type of article is it? So if the article that you picked, again, you want to examine what kind of article, what is it talking about, So some of these questions would help you maybe just reflect on whether the source that you've picked is authentic, is relevant or not, right? Okay. Sorry, I think I've gone back a bit. Now, so again, how do we then construct an effective search strategy? I think I've talked about that. Now, let's look at types of information sources. Again, I've said we have a wide source of information sources. I think what I've put here is just a pointer to what you could have. So we have scholarly publications or journals which you could use, popular sources like news and magazines. They are sources of information, that's quite right, because they will probe your thinking to dig deeper and try to then understand a subject, maybe from more scholarly sources. Again, it depends on what's the reason for you're looking for such information. There are several professional and trade bodies where information can be, you can seek information from. From the website of ISCA itself, it's loaded with a lot of information, you can gather on supply chain management, on public procurement, books and book chapters, conference proceedings. There's lots of government documents that you can generally use. I say university repositories are very crucial in getting information. For example, the theses and dissertations that are, so it's important that all these be put in the repositories for researchers when they're looking for information for their studies. And of course, again, this just gives you the same kind of sources that I've talked about. The internet, of course, these days, we can't do without it as a source of information. So really, scholars in the 21st century, you have no reason to say that you can't get information, because a lot of the sources that are talked about, you will, most of them, you'll get them online, So the online libraries, of course, some of them might require payment for you to be able, and most of them will, for you to be able to get really recent and very credible articles, which of course, you always have to pay for information. I mean, there's no big deal if you have to pay to get information that is very important to you and that will make your work stand out, either your dissertation or your thesis. So I think these are all sources. Remember, I said, yes, newspapers can be a source of information. Get what I'm trying to talk about. But I'm saying they may not be the right, depending on which newspapers. Of course, there are certain credible newspapers. They may not be the right sources for you to use. And we discourage that a lot, for you to use in your thesis or in your dissertation or in your scholarly article. I think having said all this, and I spoke to the Boolean searching earlier on, the use of and or not. Now, this is a searching strategy that was built by George Boole, that is a 19th century English mathematician. So such as allow you to combine words and phrases using the words and, or, not. And these are basically what are known as the Boolean operators. I think I talked about varying your operators. So it can limit, broaden, or it can limit or broaden basically your search. I gave an example where I said maybe I'm looking for a topic, something on logistics and supply chain management. See, if I'm searching for logistics and supply chain management, that means I'm going to get write-ups on logistics, and I'm going to get write-ups on supply chain management. Then I'm going to get both logistics and supply chain management. So you see that is widening my search. On the other hand, if I just limit myself to logistics or supply chain management, then you see, again, I'm widening. I'm looking at logistics or supply chain management. But if I say logistic, not supply chain management, then you see I'm only getting logistics and not supply chain management. So I've limited my search. So the Boolean searching, I think, is one very popular with researchers trying to look for sources of data. I think generally I've taken the 30 minutes for the presentation, and maybe now we can over to Vinolia so that we can maybe engage in some discussion. So I can see here, oh, Vinolia, over to you first.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. I was going through our chat box and I can see that no one has posted any questions as yet. So I'm going to give anyone with a question who they would like to present their question, the platform to do so right now, as others will continue writing in the chat box. If you have any question, you can just raise your hand and then we will notice you and give you the opportunity, or you can just unmute yourself and then say the question right away.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, you're audible.
Thank you, Professor Emmanuel Awuor, for a good presentation and the organizer of this meeting. I just wanted some clarification on predatory and non-predatory journals. My name is Dr. Mary Bua. Now, it is, I've been looking at various things, especially on predatory and non-predatory journals. And I notice most of the times, as much as we are all scholars, both in the developed and the developing and the developed countries, you find if there are journals from Asia, journals from Africa, most of the times they will say, whoever, the Bell's list will say that they are predatory. If there are journals from the West, from the academy, wherever, etc., they say they are not predatory. What is it that we can do, or the parameters that we can do for African journals also to be among those who are not predatory? Or is there a bias in the listing of predatory and non-predatory journals? Because there's a lot of issues. Because sometimes you send an article to the journals and it takes like 2 or 3 years even to be published, and sometimes it is never published. Thank you.
So Vinolia, can I answer that?
Yes, continue.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks, Dr. Ibua, for your question. And I think you're also an accomplished scholar. So let's try to help each other here. Now, you say that most of the time it's when it is a journal, an African journal, the treatment is not the same as if it's a European journal. Most of those are not. But I think let's just have a checklist in terms of you realize that we are all familiar with this. A lot of these journals that you'll be told to send 10,000, 20,000 journals, and in a day or two, your article is published, you know. And sometimes it's published just the way it was sent, you know. There's not even a comma that has been subtracted. There's no even a paraphrasing or a correction for you to do this and that. Basically, I think such journals are very questionable, you know, very, whether it is from Europe or from America or whichever country, then it's very questionable, because it means ideally there has been no, so yes, yes, a lot of those cases, yes, are common in Africa, but I think it's a global phenomenon. And I think for us as scholars is just to have a checklist and to have our antennas up, so that we are able to look for these signs of journals that maybe are just after money, after your 20,000, and in 24 or less than 24 hours, it's published the way it is, you know. So whether it is European, American, or New Zealand or Australian journal, then that raises a question mark, really, the way it is. So you really just want to look at, as I said earlier, the process of peer review. You may even want to look at the impact factor to see, for example, how many citations come out from those journals. And if the impact factor is high, it means that it's quite reputable and it's credible. So what I would say, Dr. Awuor, is that we just have to have a checklist, and this is a global phenomenon, and sometimes it's the same people. Maybe they're based in Africa and using a European address, or they're based in Europe and using an American address. But I think the key thing is that as scholars, if we have a checklist and we are able to look at things like, has it gone through a peer review? What's the process? Are you seeing any substantive improvement or comments from the reviewer? You know, you're looking at the impact factor and things like that. I don't know, Mary, what you'd say about it. That's what I could respond to. Dr. Awuor, yeah.
Thank you for the response, and I agree with what you are saying. And because of that, maybe we need to come up with an African journal. There are some journals from South Africa which are quite good, but maybe we would come out with more journals and our own standards as African scholars, or based in Africa, probably. Thank you for the presentation and for the answer.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Maybe come up with one journal that will be authentic. But I think various institutions like I don't know, Prof. Ambe, if you'll hear, will tell you institutions like in South Africa. I know, for example, University of South Africa, where you have to publish from a certain list of journals, you know, that is considered credible and not from any other source. So already that helps you and makes you more focused to what has been identified as credible. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Awuor, for that question. Over to you, Vinolia.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. And I hope that Mrs. Mary is well answered. Moving forward, we do have a question from Prof. Simon Epenke, which says, what's your take on using peer-reviewed articles on lead reviews? Prof. Emmanuel, you are on mute. Should I repeat the question?
Yes. Yeah, I know, I can see it on the chart from Professor Simon Efanji. What's your take on using peer-reviewed articles on literature review? Yes, I've seen it. Prof, if I can answer you, I think we have been alluding here to the fact that we want to make our literature review credible. You want to make your article credible. You want to make it stand out. You want not anybody to question the authoritativeness of your source. And so then it means if you're using information, data from credible sources, then so be it. So the better for it. And basically, that's why the peer-reviewed sources are more authentic. They're more credible, and they give credibility to your research gaps, and they give credibility to your statement of the problem, and they give credibility to your paper as a whole, or to your thesis, or to your dissertation. So the question we have just been asking ourselves here is just about how credible is that reviewed article, you know? Is it predatory or non-predatory? What was the process of the review? Is it trustworthy, you know? So I'm not sure what you can add to that, Prof. Simon. Professor Simon Fanji? No,
yes,
okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, I was asking this questions because a lot of my students, when they come in, they would mostly be bringing me the articles that they got from the scholarly articles, and I would ask them, what's the credibility of your information? And they would tell me that, well, Prof, I think that, and I'm like, no, it's not your job to think. You don't have the credibility yet to think. You need to be able to provide information that has already been sat upon by a bunch of people and is very reputed. And I really, really encourage them, because most of the students that come from Africa here in Asia to study, I think they have most of them do not have that basis to be able to search for authentic information and how to actually decide if their information is authentic. I had 2 students from Zambia whom I was just supposed to actually proctor them and actually supervise them for their thesis, but I found myself going back, teaching them research methodology and how to actually find authentic information. So I'm just throwing this across to all my colleagues out there, that we should make it a habit, just like Prof. Emmanuel was saying, to be able to drive across to these master students and to these doctoral students the whole process of authenticity. And I think Dr. Awuor also brought up that whole concept of that most of the journals in Africa are sidelined, but they would give you the ones that are coming from the West. But that notwithstanding, we do know our products. And I think we should be able to make use of our products rather than always taking from the West. Thank you so much for that input, Prof. Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you. I think Prof. Simon and Dr. Awuor have nailed it down. Yes, we need just from the word go to make our students understand that it's their work to establish the authenticity of their source. And basically, if they don't do that, then they're watering down their study. So I think thank you very much for that very elaborate explanation on reviewed and scholarly articles. Yes, I can see, Vinolia, over to you to guide the process.
Okay, I'm going to now give the opportunity to Mr. Charles Olu. I can see your hand is up. You can continue with your question or comment.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, and everybody else. And it was wonderful to be reminded of how to go about research, how to go about digging into research. I agree with the proposition that we need to start also a journal for Africa. We are burdened with the social sciences, where especially supply chain is much more abused. We find that in Asia, when I was working around there in Pakistan and India, every corner there's somebody, a journal or something like this and all that. And also when you go to their website, they follow you again and attribute that research as if it's you have already done something about it. And it's very strange, like research gates and all that. But I think also the support from the universities we get, especially the library, those people in the library, the librarians. Sometimes some universities have very good systems where they filter down, they give you guidance to find out which they have already pre-qualified the sources. And so the students don't have problems in getting to that. And I think most of universities do that. I am in a situation where the library I'm using is very, very good and you don't have problems. But I want to agree with this idea that we are sidelined in Africa and we have these problems of picking the emeralds of this world, Taylor and Francis and Springer. So those ones are the other levels. So, but since last time we had talked about professionalization, curriculum, and all that, when we zero in something, what are these things, the practices, the approaches want for Africa, then we are ready to say yes, even if we started a magazine, a journal, it will make sense. So the onus is on us, and I think we must start now. I want to agree that we should have a journal, and it's not difficult to start one, because every journal will go through this aspect of peer reviewing somewhere, and also the mechanism to make sure that it's authentic. At that one, we have all the capacity to do it, to do them in Africa. I remember Operation Research Societies, which is also diverse. And when we had a conference in South Africa, Pretoria, the University of Pretoria, they didn't have a journal. But because now they came together as African body, they are striving to start one, and it's already working. And then their mother umbrella body, IFOS, have already approved. And from there, they get all the expertise from the people who are there. We are talking about people like Professor Emmanuel, Professor Ambe, and also Simon and everybody else. And there we are. So, and then I want to agree with the Simon saying the research methodology sometimes is forgotten. It's taught like just another subject. And then you find that when you go to start supervising students, that's why now we start again digging, working backwards, which is very, very, bothersome. So we want to also see, how do you prepare students to do research? Do you start just like a unit which is one semester and it's done, or how far do we go about that? Preparation for research is another key. It's not supposed to be done the last portion when somebody is just about to go to the finals, but it's supposed to be a continuous process. And that's the thing which we can be discussing later on as we go by. But I want to agree that exposure, which expounding that Emmanuel has done, we are deep in that, and but we need support. We need to come together, and Africa, we have all that sources. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. I think Charles has said it very well and just alluded to what Dr. Awuor and Prof. Simon said. Yes, we need not just to rely, we have to have our own credible journals, that are authentic and that we can rely on. And I think, so that's a question that I think almost 3 presenters have posed to you this afternoon. So basically, you should be ruminating over it so that we come up with a solution pretty fast. Over to you again, Vinolia.
Thank you so much for that comment, Mr. Charles. I was checking our chat box. I can see that no questions has been posted as yet. I'm going to give anyone who has any comment or any question they would like to ask Prof. Emmanuel to present their questions. So you can just unmute yourself and present your question right away. Okay. I think, okay, before we go to the closing part, since we don't have any questions, I would like to hand over to you, Prof. Emmanuel, to please, maybe you can just comment on everything in general, just your comment, and maybe a way forward as well with regards to everything which you just said on the presentation.
Yeah. Thanks, Binolia. I think first of all, as a VP in ISCA for Research and Education, I would just try to suggest to some of our masters and doctoral students that are logged here that they check the ISCA website, and they'll be able to maybe see some of the past presentations that have been uploaded, and maybe go to the YouTube. So there's a lot of scholarly information that they learn from the ISCA website. I would also suggest that they have a look at the calendar of these presentations. These presentations, as I said, this is the 5th in the year. This is April, so it's the 5th. We have presented, they are arranged, the building onto each other. So I guess the next one could be literature review or something like that. And it will go all the way to data analysis, both quantitative and qualitative, and go all the way to research publication, to all those research funding until the end towards November. So get that calendar so that you can keep abreast of what happens at ISCA. There's also the Game Changer series, which happens on a monthly basis. I think this month, last month, we had one on the question of whether we should harmonize supply chain education in Africa. And I think we had two wonderful presenters from Ghana and Kenya and South Africa. And I think the knowledge sharing that comes across there is just mind-blowing, and it can help you again just sit back and ruminate over some of these issues, and possibly a solution would come out. Again, I just want to emphasize that ISCA is a platform for all of us researchers, not necessarily in supply chain management, but you can collaborate, you can partner with ISCA for any of your researches. We have the capacity to guide you and help you through. And basically that's why we are there. And we are trying to ensure that we are establishing a platform for researchers in the African continent. So with that, I think one thing that has come out very clearly from the discussion with the few questions that came, there were few but very important, I think so, is that we need our students and scholars in general to understand about the authenticity and credibility of the sources of information that they're using, or of where they're disseminating their information. And I think that's very important, so that we need to have checklists that help us identify predatory and non-predatory journals, so that as it is, we ensure that we channel our dissemination of this very difficult information that you have gathered and written through the right channels. So I think with that, Binolia, I just say thank you for those who managed to log in, and hope that you're now part of the ISCA team, and hope to meet you in other forums. I'm sure the coming one that is the closest is the Game Changer series, and so many other forums that are organized by ISCA. Thank you very much, Binolia. Over to you.
Thank you so much once again, Prof. Emmanuel. I would like to thank you for the wonderful presentation which you have given us today. I hope that it was enlightening. Actually, it was enlightening. It was very informative. It was also educational as well. So I just want to urge people that we do have more sessions like this which are coming. Like Prof. Emmanuel said, we do have an RSWS session which is coming on the 21st of April. And also we do have a game changer which is going to be held on the 26th of this month as well. So for more information, you can just visit our website, which is www.isca.org.za. And we do have our social media platforms where you can get recordings like this one. We are African Institute for Supply Chain Research on all our social media platforms. If you don't have Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, you can just go straight to YouTube and then you will find us. We are African Institute for Supply Chain Research, and you can access all our recordings from last year until this year. All of the recordings are being uploaded on our YouTube channel. So without any waste of time, I'm going to thank everyone who managed to be here today to attend this wonderful session. And I say, we will meet again on the coming event, which is on the 21st of April. Embrace yourself because you're still going to be fed with more information. And I would like to say thank you and enjoy your evening as well.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you, everybody.
bye.
Have a good evening.
Have a good one.